How you doing when it's talk, talk? How you doing when it's talk, talk?
All right, as promised, we're joined now by Lisa Ferrell from the Georgia Production Partnership. Lisa, thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
And this is a subject that's I've always been curious about, and I've really enjoyed sort of learning more about the role of the film and TV and the production business that's come to Georgia. Now, a lot of people are aware of the spurt over the last, probably 5 to 10 years.
Probably 10 years. This is actually, I'm glad you brought that up. It's the anniversary of the 10-year anniversary of the tax incentive for Georgia.
Okay.
So that's why you see that spurt.
And that's one of the main focuses of what the Georgia Production Partnership does, is kind of shepherding all that, isn't it?
Yes, we promote, protect, and support the tax incentive. Back 10 years ago now, a group of filmmakers got together, and together they created and pushed the tax incentive. And now, since we have it, it's not evergreen. It needs to be protected and supported. And like I said, this is the 10-year anniversary, so we're really excited how it helped to grow our film industry here.
For you, it's been fun talking earlier before we started. You're from Sonoya?
I am.
And Sonoya, to fans, especially of The Walking Dead, there's a town that was basically rebuilt and formed for that show.
Exactly.
And, the Zach Brown band has got a footprint in there, and, all that. But, there's so much more than just that. And there's such a rich history when it comes to especially TV and movies.
You're exactly right. And a lot of people don't know this. We had a film industry there before Walking Dead. When I was in high school, and I will not tell you when that was, they built a studio, Riverwood Studios. And Snow is very, very small. And there are only like 90 people in my graduating class. So they use us to PA, and they were shooting things like Pet Cemetery, Andersonville, Fried Green Tomatoes. And our high school had a little television show. We called it On Target. And by the time I went to college, I already had a reel. But because our town was so small and in those days so far away from Metro, we just assumed everybody lived that way. Don't you all have a studio in your town?
Yeah, exactly. Full production facilities. There's one name that, at least for me, as a neophyte in the business, let's say, Tyler Perry, to me, has become synonymous with not only those unbelievable movies he's made, but from a production standpoint. Could you talk a little bit about what he's been able to do in this town?
I can talk a bit about it just from being an observer. I've never worked with Tyler Perry, but because our industry here in Georgia is so incestuous, of course, I've worked with people who have worked with him, and I've watched him from afar. He created his own model, his own paradigm, which is remarkable because he started out doing stage plays, and he took those and turned them into features because he knew who his audience was. So he was able to bypass the studio system in a way that other people had not here in Georgia, because that's one of our things, is that having green lighting a show doesn't really happen here in Georgia, except for with Tyler Perry. And he has just been prolific and evergreen, and really helped to bring the focus on our state that we are content creators and we do know the business of film. So yes, he is a native son who has done very well.
Yeah, and it's been fun to see. I remember, was it a couple of years ago, I was downtown, I think for a Hawks game, and I came out of the parking lot, and all of a sudden streets are blocked out.
Yes.
And I'm looking at, I roll my window down, there's a policeman standing there. I said, "What's the deal?" And he goes, "Oh, Avengers." I said, "Oh, okay."
Isn't that marvelous that, I'm going to say all of the Marvel films that you have seen, feature films that you have seen, have been here in Georgia because you've got Pinewood. And so all of them are being shot. Guardians, Avengers, every last one of them. And like people are, they say like we live in Wakanda because Black Panther was shot here. And then when you're watching the films, it's so much fun because like in Black Panther, when they go to the British Museum, I think it is.
Right.
That's actually the high. So if you watch these films, you'll see so much of Georgia in them. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how important, though, to what we've seen happen, and you talk about the 10th anniversary of the tax situation, the exemptions. How important is that to Hollywood, to the left coast, to be able to come in here and do what they do? And aren't they, to a degree, kind of cutting off their nose to spite their face? I mean,
no, it comes down to the bottom line. They are trying to save money, and our tax incentive is one of the best in the world. It is with a $500K spend in the state of Georgia, you get a 20% tax incentive. Then if you use the Peach logo, it's an additional 10% for 30% tax incentive. Now, I think starting this past January, post-production was also added to that, and also music. So you can do an entire production here and save money. Now, the tax incentive is fantastic for attracting the film, but we've also got the infrastructure with the studios that we're building. You live here, we've got all kind of terrain. So there's not anything you're looking for, you can find it. You want desert? Okay. You want beach? Okay. And also, we've got the trained crew, and we've got the Georgia Film Academy training them. You've got us training them. So, while the tax incentive brings them here, it's Georgia that keeps them here. So,
and when you talk about the Georgia Production Partnership, how is it best to describe what it is to the industry? Is it a central point? Is it a rallying point?
We are a coalition of filmmakers and everyone who is involved in the film industry. And I love to say that the entire state of Georgia is involved in the film industry. I went to a film premiere in Toccoa to talk about how the film industry can revitalize a small town. And a person who was an HVAC salesman, he put the AC systems in their trailers. And so then when people started coming back to town, they would recommend him. He's now in the film industry. You've got a Home Depot that's built at Pinewood because they need construction. You need hair, you need makeup, you need clothing, you need food. There is nothing that the economic impact of the film industry does not touch, because for Georgia, it's a $9.5 billion industry, and it's all over the state. In fact, HBO is shooting a series right now in Barnesville, and it's I think it's Sharp Objects. I think it is. It's based on a book by Gillian Flynn, who did Gone Girl. Right. Because they were looking for a pig farm. And they found one there, and then they saw everything else, and they were like, well, let's just do the whole thing here. And that's the kind of great state we live in. You've got everything that would attract the industry here.
How competitive is the environment from a state standpoint? How many are more states now out there trying to footprint what Georgia has done?
Yes, they are, of course. Now, again, back to the tax incentive. We're not the only ones with an incentive, but other states who have lost their incentive, like Carolina, well, their industry moves here because people want the incentive. Mm-hmm. So, yes, there are other states with tax incentives. Not all of them are as good as ours. And you also need the other things, too, that I said, the infrastructure, the trained crew, the willingness to be accessible to the film industry. Like you said, when you came out, the streets blocked off. Well, there are some places, and I'm not going to name the states, where if somebody's shooting next door, versus doors, that people will come out and just make noise. Yeah. And say, well, yeah, I'll stop for like $1,000. Okay. So, yeah. So you've got, but we've got people people are always commenting on how friendly our industry is, how friendly our state is, how welcoming it is. And it is. And, not just to the film industry, but I think I may be biased, but I just think that's just the way that we are.
Yeah, I grew up in a SAG-AFTRA family, and I've been a member since, I guess, about 80 or so. And how involved are the unions in all this, in everything that goes on as far from the production standpoint?
Well, they're very involved. We have, our last meeting actually was at the Union Hall 479. Like I said, for GPP, we're the watering hole for the entire industry, and it behooves all of us to come together and make sure that the industry stays strong and that it stays here, and that we're all cooperating with each other in order to make that happen. So, yes, I'd say they're very involved.
Are you any sort of a resource for the smaller groups, for the small production companies, for the, in the regular business world, you'd say the mom and pop shops.
Yes.
But from the production standpoint, or what kind of a watering hole are you for those kind of people?
Well, GPP has a monthly general membership meeting. We meet the first Tuesday of every month, and recently it's been at the Plaza because Chris Escobar, who owns the Plaza, was our past vice president. And that doesn't mean we're all just in it together. But it's a great opportunity to network. And we have speakers who are, like we had a tax panel to talk about how the new taxes affect the smaller shops. I'm a freelance producer myself, so all of this stuff affects me too. Yeah. So I'd say we're a great resource.
That's fantastic. Now, what exactly should people know about the Georgia Production Partnership and how it affects them? Because it seems to be something that we've talked about the movies and whatnot, but why really should people care about? And I know it's a $9.5 billion resource for the state, but why would the average person say, well, what do they do? What do they do for me?
Well, because of the economic impact, like I said, it affects the entire state. You don't have to be behind the camera or in front of the camera for you to be able to benefit from the film industry. Like I said, I'm from Snoy, and it's a very small town. Well, there are like cottage industries that have just sprang up around it. There are coffee shops dedicated to walking. There are walking tours. There are bus tours. We just did a regional meeting in Macon, and a girl I went to high school with that I have not seen since then told me that they just bought up all of the property in Harrelson, which is an adjacent town.
Right.
And they're turning it into a backlot. So it affects everybody and it helps everybody. If we keep this industry strong here in the state of Georgia, we keep Georgia strong.
How do people help do that? Where can they go? Who can they talk to?
Well,
do you talk to your local your congressman? Do you talk to an assemblyman?
Well,
do you
this
talk
is the
to the
great
state
thing.
representatives?
The state of Georgia, the great thing about us, we have a film office, the Georgia Film Office, and I'm sorry I don't have their email address, their website address, but ours is georgiaproduction.org. And if you go in there, you will see links to things that can be helpful to you. We also have industry partners, and they're linked on there. For the Georgia Film Office, though, if you go in there, you will see different ways that you can showcase your property for a location to be shot at. And one of the unique things about the state of Georgia is I think we have 152 or 159 counties. Each county has a camera-ready representative that is linked to the state. So nobody knows their home better than the people who live there.
Right.
So let's say you want to film in Georgia and you're looking for a pig farm. Well, the camera-ready operatives there would know exactly where you should go, who you should talk to, what you should do. And they cut out all of the the guesswork. They will help you. They partner with you. So, and that's over the entire state.
Well, I'll give you a good example. I've got my youngest daughter's boyfriend is raising bison down outside. It sounds like he's doing what? But it's down in Greenville.
Yeah.
And he was approached by somebody that said, "Hey, we would like to come out and see your place." And is that the kind of effect that happens for people?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. With the locations, I mean, with something unique like that, the film office would love to know about that. Mm-hmm. And if you go to their site, and again, if you first go to georgiaproduction.org and you can link to their site, they will show you how to take pictures and upload them of your locations, so that when people are calling looking for a bison farm, they don't have to guess or go someplace else. It's like, oh,
we need buffalo, and we don't have to go to Montana to see them.
No, you do not.
Lisa, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. This is exciting stuff. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Like I told you, I can talk Georgia and Georgia film with you all day. I love the state of Georgia. I love this industry. We are good at this. We're getting better at this, and people love us.
And just a good old Sonoya girl at heart.
That's it.
Thank you so much.
Very small town.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.